Now, there's this recent trend, which I also noticed in the European newspapers, to have articles with headlines such as this: What's wrong with the economy? It's you, not the data. Yeah. See, the journalist knows me. He knows me personally. He probably talks to my mother. This one is from the Seattle Times. If a team wins the World Series, it is a strong baseball team, obviously. If a team wins the Super Bowl, it is a strong football team, obviously. If the US economy is the best performing economy in the world, is it a strong economy? Gosh, I don't know. It just kinda doesn't feel strong. Man, where was this energy when we were talking about racismus, when you had university professors calling that the United States is filled with systemic racismus or sexismus? When were they coming up and saying, well, actually, if you look at racism, America compared to other nations in the world isn't that bad? Or in the case of feminism, I didn't see the Seattle Times making a comic saying, well, when it comes to women's rights, women in America have access to more amenities and more rights than most women do across the world. It's only when it's about the economy that you see the Seattle Times making comics like this, isn't it? Then we got this one. Economists see a spectacular economy. Most voters don't. Can Biden turn that around? CNN poll, half of Americans think that the economy is getting worse despite months of stronger economic news. And there's articles upon articles like this, which is basically the experts have communed with the economy. They communed with the divine, and they concluded that under the shepherdship of the Democrats and Joe Biden, the economy is amazing. Like, Joe Biden has really tickled the economy in the right way. But it's the stupid people, those moronic imbeciles at home who think that the economy is bad. It's them that are the problem. And of course, you got all the newspapers, which do not have a horse in this race. The CNN, the Seattle Times, all these other newspapers, they clearly don't care about politics whatsoever. It's just that in this situation, they cannot see the good name of the Democrats being trashed. They just cannot see blame being placed on a person that didn't do anything wrong. Yeah, and it's the same newspapers that were also publishing articles that there's not going to be an inflation, that things aren't going to get worse after the economy was stopped during the pandemic. Yeah, the same newspapers. Maybe they didn't know how to commune with the economy back then, but they definitely learn now. I find it so interesting, right? Because there are people that genuinely believe this. I had many conversations with Short Fat Otaku on the Dungeons and Dragons streams, and I think like the people who follow David Pacman also believe it. And they're like, well, the experts are saying, and the experts are saying, and I'm like, look, I'm not saying that the experts do not know how to calculate the economic data. Like, I'm pretty sure that if you look at their calculations, they're very correct. It's just that the economic data doesn't seem to reflect the standard of living of the average person. The economic data doesn't seem to, at least in the way that they're calculating it, doesn't seem to reflect the average wealth of the average person. And in reality, most people, indeed, do not use statistics or data in order to measure their lives. And most people do not write down the prices that they got from the supermarket. What actually happens is that most people seem to have a sort of pattern in their lives. They go to work, they come home, and maybe Saturday they go and they do the grocery bills. And they notice that for a while, month after month, they end up with less money even though they're buying the same stuff. And even though that they're buying the same products, they notice that there's less and less things in the box. They notice the price of gas is going up. They're noticing that maintaining the same lifestyle that they had before 2020 is unsustainable. And this is what most people mean when they say, well, the economy isn't doing very good. Now, I don't know how the economists measure this activity. I genuinely do not know if it's in the quote-unquote economic data that the experts are looking at. But at the end of the day, this is what the average Joe cares about. The average Joe cares about himself and his family and putting food on the table. If for instance, the economic data looks at the GDP and number goes up, but doesn't look at the national debt and doesn't take that into consideration, well, I'm sure the economic expert is calculating for something, but is definitely not calculating the things that the average Joe cares about. It's more like calculating the things that the government wants to require calculations so that the government looks good. I mean, I don't remember that during the Trump economy or even during the Clinton economy, you had the newspapers requiring to assure the average citizen that, hey, actually the economy is doing very good. It's just you that don't know what you're talking about. Like this was never the case. But all of a sudden, and it's in most places in the world, again, after the pandemic, after the economy was stopped, and after governments decided to print money like crazy, you have all of these bizarre articles that are saying, well, actually, it's the common person that doesn't know what they're talking about. Instead, it's the economist that knows. So you go to the question, well, who pays the economist? Because that's a very reasonable question to ask. And the answer to most questions is the government. And the government means the ruling party, the current establishment. So there you understand the conflict of interests. But circling back to this meme, which I found very interesting. First of all, I don't really know if America is actually the world's strongest economy. Is it stronger than Switzerland? I mean, maybe, I guess. I don't see any fact checkers, so let's assume that indeed America is the best performing economy in the world. The criticism here is that it doesn't feel kind of strong. It's based on how things used to be in the past. Like when you had the feminists or when you had the anti-racists going around with their chants saying that America is systemically racist or that it's a patriarchy. And you could say, well, hold on a little bit. It's not a patriarchy. I mean, if you look at the Middle East, you can see how some nations over there treat women, and it's not just cultural, but you also look at the legislation, and you notice that those things are codified into law, and America doesn't have anything like that. So you can make the argument that, yeah, like, compared to the rest of the world, America is not what you describe it to be, but you can also make the argument that even compared to the past, right? So you look at the America in the past and you can say that, well, back then you could make the argument that there was racism and it was codified into law, but we've improved since then and we don't do it anymore. But when it comes to the economy, you can't make that argument because most people know how they lived back in 2020. Most people can look at the past and they know what type of groceries they were shopping then. And they know the gas prices from then, and they know the amount of money that they were paid every month in their wage. So, no, like, this entire thing is absolutely ridiculous. This entire comic doesn't make sense, and you realize just how bad the economy is when you start speaking with a business owner. Most business owners can tell you that they get to see their data close up, and what they notice is that the interest rates are way up. The cost of credit and money is up. The raw material prices are up as well. And almost everything seems to be up by 30 to 40%, which, again, the same economical experts that measure inflation, they don't seem to get anywhere near close to the number. But again, when you go out and you shop, you notice that you're paying almost half as much as you used to pay for your grocery shoppings back in 2020. So this is why people are upset about it. And this is why the mainstream media has to publish these articles that they didn't publish during the Clinton era, they didn't publish during the Trump era. And I'm pretty sure that if the economy actually does stabilize and people start getting used to it, you won't see these articles being published anymore. But until that point, they will just keep continuing to try and gaslight the public. But unfortunately, it doesn't work because individuals experience this on their day-to-day lives. So let me know what you guys think, and as usual, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.